Hello everybody. Today we're taking a look at another vintage professional video monitor that I got my hands on recently. This is a Sony Trinitron model PVM-9L2 and it was made in 2003, which actually makes this one of the newest PVMs that we've looked at, and indeed this series of PVMs were the last CRT PVMs sold by Sony. They would be replaced by the LCD-based LVM series after this generation. It's an 8-inch unit, and it's one of two models of 8-inch PVMs that were in this generation, the other one being the PVM-9L3. The difference between them is that this unit, the 9L2, has the standard Trinitron tube, whereas the 9L3 has the higher resolution HR Trinitron tube, just like my older PVM 8044Q has. The HR Trinitron tube is capable of resolving 450 TV lines. That's about equivalent to the ability to more or less adequately resolve a VGA resolution computer signal, for example. The standard Trinitron tube in this unit has a resolution of just 250 TV lines. We'll actually start around the back. This thing has a couple of really neat features that my older PVM, 8-inch PVM doesn't have, which kind of gives it some killer apps even though it doesn't have the HR Trinitron tube. First of all, for video inputs, we get composite, we get S-video, but instead of component, we have SDI. Very, very cool. SDI, if you don't know, is a broadcast standard digital signal format. So this is digital. It's digital video carried over a standard BNC coax cable. This is obviously just standard definition SDI, but SDI today, I think the current generation of SDI is like 12K or something crazy like that, along with like 12 channels of digital audio, and it can carry that all over a coax cable. But this is standard SDI. I would assume that it can carry the audio over it as well, although I actually don't know, but we can test that. But yeah, SDI, pretty cool. And as you can see, it's on an option card. This generation of PVMs, you could slot in an option card to get the extra inputs that you wanted. There was one for component, there was the SDI one, and I've actually seen one that has VGA and SCART on it. That's pretty cool. It looks like there's two slots. There's actually only one. This one's just a blanking plate. Maybe there were some cards that were double width. I don't know. It's got a remote jack on it, an RJ45 jack. I'm not sure what that protocol is or anything about it. So here it says option audio input. So maybe it doesn't support audio over SDI. Maybe you have to plug it in here. We get our external sync input, and we do have a second composite input. So two composite inputs, one S-video input, and two SDI inputs. Very nice. AC power jack, 12-volt DC 4-pin XLR. That's a standard connection in broadcast video equipment. And then the other really neat feature this has that the older PVMs don't is this has a V-mount battery slot. My older PVM has two slots for these old style batteries. Now I always forget if these were lead acid or NiCad, but this is a very obsolete battery. I've never seen one. I don't think you can buy them new anymore. It's probably hard to find working ones at all. And also I don't know if it was ever used on anything other than these PVMs. But the V-mount battery is a whole different story. It's modern. It's actually lithium ion. I think there might have been nickel metal hydride ones, but there were lithium ion ones. You can still buy them today. This was used in a lot of equipment. It was used on the newer LVM monitors that Sony sold as well, and you'll find these on video cameras. And the battery looks like this. Here is one, and I've actually got an entire charger and 4 of them that we were given. It's a Sony charger. It's the model BCL120, and in addition to being able to charge 4 of these batteries, it also has a DC out jack, but for some reason it says the DC out is 16.8 volts. I don't know if that's a mistake on the label or what, because all the equipment I've ever seen with this connection is rated for 12 volts. But yeah, pretty cool. And 4 of these batteries, these are third-party batteries made by, I don't know if that's Optronic or iOptronic or Coptronic. I can't really make sense. Certainly can't find anything online. It was very much a generic battery, but you can see it says lithium ion, 14.4 volts, 6.6 amp hours with DC power outlet, and that's referring to this. This is another, I don't really know if it was standard, but certainly common power jack that you could find on these V-mount batteries. I had a hell of a time figuring out what it's called, or if you can actually buy anything to adapt it to, but it does have a name. It's called a D-tap, I guess because of the shape of the connector, and you can buy D-tap adapters, and the purpose for this is if you had this battery powering your camera, and let's say you had a light on your camera, or maybe a hard disk recorder strapped to your camera, something that needed to be powered with around 12 volts, you could have an adapter to adapt this to a barrel jack or a 4-pin socket, whatever you needed, and power those accessories off the same battery if the camera didn't have a hot shoe or if the accessory couldn't be powered by a hot shoe. Very cool, very handy. And the battery slots on just like that, and it does work on this monitor. So we have a battery-powered CRT PVM. That's pretty cool. There you go. Let's hook an input up to this, and we'll look at it further. I now have a signal running into the S-video input, and it looks good. The most striking thing to me is how bright the picture is. This tube is actually really healthy. It's super bright. It's brighter than my other PVMs. So yeah, really, tube's in really good shape on this thing, and the colors are good and everything. If I turn color bars on here, there you can see the color bars. Let me adjust my phone here. There. Not bad. Now what you can notice with the color bars is we've got a slight amount of pin cushion happening here. If I enable the underscan mode, you can see it's slightly happening at the top too, not so much at the bottom. But yeah, the thing is showing a bit of its age. Even though the tube itself is in great shape, it does need some adjustments. Not badly enough that I'm gonna bother opening this thing up and doing it. But yeah, really bright, really nice colors. I mean, you wouldn't expect anything less from a PVM anyway. It's got 16:9 mode. Let me actually put the camera into 16:9 mode, see if that actually works. Yeah, so this monitor and my camcorder are actually about the same age. Actually, they're almost exactly the same age. So yeah, I put the camera into 16:9 mode, turn 16:9 mode on this, and we have a proper 16:9 image. Pretty cool. So for the controls down here, line A is line A, either composite or S-video. Line B is the second composite input. Option A is the first SDI input, and option B is the second SDI input. You've got a degauss switch. You've got a blue only mode, which enables only the blue channel of the picture, and you would use this for calibrating the monitor, or perhaps calibrating the proc amp on a VTR or something connected to the monitor. You put on SMPTE bars, and you can use that to calibrate the chroma. I believe both the chroma intensity and the chroma phase can be calibrated using the blue only mode. We do not have a horizontal vertical delay mode as in the older PVMs. I guess a sign of the times. The HV delay was mostly used for VTRs, and of course by 2003 analog VTRs at least were becoming very much less the norm. Underscan 16:9, your external sync, and unlike the previous PVMs we've looked at, this actually has an on-screen menu. So it gives you the signal format. This can take either NTSC or PAL signals. Tells us we're 480 60i, color temperature, the component level, either beta cam or SMPTE, the NTSC setup level, which is another kind of weird professional thing that you guys really don't have to worry about. Whether for now, of course, this doesn't apply because this thing doesn't have the component option card. But if we did, you have an option for either RGB or component. Component is YUV, which is the standard component, whereas RGB would be, for stuff like computers and stuff. Just a different way of splitting up the red, green, and blue components. Tells us the model of the option card we have installed. The BKM120D is the SDI card. And we can set the color temperature of the image. This thing actually does automatic chroma intensity and phase adjustment, which I did before starting this video. That's really cool. So what you do is you bring up color bars. Let me just do that right now. You bring up color bars, and you press enter and then start. And what it's doing right now is it's detected all the different color bars, and it's examining them. And you might be able to see, I don't know how well the camera's picking it up, it's automatically varying the chroma intensity and chroma phase to get it just perfect. And it's done. How cool is that? And then you have sub-controls. So if you find that your knobs down here, which are volume, contrast, chroma phase, chroma intensity, and your brightness, if you found that any of those were wildly off what they should be on their center detent, you can adjust that all here. You can turn on a format display, so it gives you the signal format down at the bottom. Menu language, and a degauss delay, which I don't actually know. Does that literally just delay the degauss after you press the button? Yeah, I don't know. But it's a degauss delay of some sort. Tells you the pinout for the remote pin. So line A, line B, tally, which is this red LED light up here, tally signal, very cool. Underscan control, blue only control, 16:9 control, and external sync. And then it gives us the serial number of the option card as well as the model of the option card. So there you go. Aha, I just found a service menu. That's the great thing about these later PVMs. You don't actually have to go inside them and turn trimmers and stuff to fix geometry issues. On these, it's all done electronically. What you do is you open the menu, and then you press degauss and enter at the same time. And there we are, we're in the service menu. There's a lot of ways to mess this thing up. But let's go to geometry. I'll take a minute to look at the manual, make sure I know what to twiddle with here. Well, I found some reference charts. The applicable settings are side pin and side pin balance. I played around with them. Side pin balance seems to change stuff, but side pin really doesn't at all. So I don't know, maybe there's some sort of analog sub-control on a board that would have to be adjusted, but that's okay. Like I said, it's very minor, certainly not bad enough for me to address it further. My Sony CVM, the CVM-1271, that has a bit of pin cushion going on too, and it doesn't worry me. So, I believe the only way to get out of this is just to power cycle the monitor. So, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed it an SDI signal, and I'm going to do it with the help of this thing, a Canopus ADVC1000. This is a DV to SDI or SDI to DV converter. A very useful tool to have for someone like me who plays around with vintage television equipment and who owns a bunch of DV camcorders. So we'll fire this guy up. Turn this back off. And if I press Option A, there we are. So the SDI works. Now, if I turn the microphone on this on, okay, so my microphone is turned on this camera up here. So if I turn the volume up, if it's carrying audio over the SDI, there should be feedback. Check, check, check. No. So that's a big no. So the SDI inputs do not carry embedded audio. That's okay. That was the case for a lot of stuff in the early days of SDI. I've now got a composite signal looped into both of my 8-inch PVMs. I'm using composite because I only have one S-video cable. They keep breaking on me. S-video cables are so delicate, apparently. The first thing you can notice is just how much brighter the 9L2 is compared to my PVM 8045Q. I think I called this an 8044Q earlier. Not sure what the difference is between them. So I've got to crank this guy up to get it to match. Pretty much turn the contrast up all the way. That looks a bit better. But if you look here, if you look in this green crosshatched part, looking at the 9L2, and then looking at the 8045, if you can see past all the composite video dot crawl, you can see that the 8045 with its HR Trinitron tube is able to resolve this part a lot better than this one. And as a matter of fact, I think you can see the individual pixels, or dots rather, I shouldn't say pixels, the individual phosphor dots of the CRT. You can't really even make them out on the HR Trinitron tube, but you can clearly make them out on the standard Trinitron tube. Very interesting. Here's some small text being displayed by a computer, and this really highlights the difference between the standard and HR Trinitron tubes. If we look at the HR Trinitron tube, it's a little fuzzy over composite video, but you can see the words there. You could read it if you had to. But take a look at the standard screen. We can kind of see what these are. I can't make out these dates at all, or the times. Big difference. Very big difference. Well, that's about all there is to show of the Sony PVM-9L2 professional video monitor from 2003. this is a very nice monitor. Even if it doesn't have the HR Trinitron tube, it's still got some really nice features. That SDI input is very handy, and the ability to run off of a battery is very cool. And by the way, it's still running on the battery. We've been doing that this entire video. I've never plugged it into a wall. So yeah, I'm really happy to have this monitor. It's a nice addition with my PVM-8045Q. And both of these monitors are going to come very handy in the near future because I have something extremely cool to show you guys. Can't wait to show you. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.
You silly dog. What? Are you so happy? Did you find Flo? Did Flo come rescue you? Yes. It's hard to back up with that big fluffy butt in your face.